Shane, man, I hope like hell this is going to be a great game. But we got number 1 Georgia going on the road to South Carolina, coming off a tough loss there at Arkansas. Thoughts on this matchup, Shane, and what is it going to take for the Gamecocks to make us a competitive ball game?
A damn miracle. I mean, let's be realistic here, Mike. I mean, I love the David Goliath story. I mean, they've done it before.
Yeah.
But this isn't even the same Bulldog team. This is a juggernaut. This is I mean, it is alpha dogs walking in. So that's a tough ask. But I don't think Arkansas is that far off, and you scrapped with them. You kept it close, and a couple of missed opportunities. I think, we talked about this on Monday's show. You've got some very explosive weapons on your roster. Get them the ball. Those type of athletes are the ones that can take 5 yards to 50 yards. Those are the ones that can shorten the scoreboard, So that's in my opinion, because you're not going to get to run against Georgia if you've not been able to run against anybody this year. So throw it out, man. Let's try something different. Look at maybe a Mississippi State approach. Maybe hell, you don't want to go fast tempo. Maybe an App State approach. I don't know. I don't know what you do, man. The more I think about it, I would not want to game plan for the Georgia Bulldogs at all. But like I said, you've got some knives over there. Throw it at them.
Yeah, and I mean, normally, home field is always going to be an advantage for you. Unfortunately, This is an early kickoff, a noon kickoff. I hate when we get these big matchups and they put them at noon. But hell, it certainly looked like Alabama was rattled at noon there in Austin, Texas. So any chance, and again, this may be slim because we know how fantastic Stetson Bennett is playing. He's one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the country. He's going on year 15 there in Athens. But, any chance he's rattled playing in Williams-Brice, because the last time they played down here in Williams-Brice was the COVID year, so
right.
that doesn't count for fans and everything like that. It's going to be hot. It's going to be muggy.
Yeah.
Those fans are going to be fired up for the 2001. It's just imperative that South Carolina gets off to a hot start here. You know what?
Yeah, it is, and it will be the toughest environment they've played in since this year. So. But a noon kickoff's not a bad idea either, because those are the ones you want to sneak up on teams. So
yeah,
I mean, obviously you'd love Williams-Brice at night under the lights. I mean, it can get rowdy, but sometimes you can lull a team, and that's all you need to do is just keep it a game to the third quarter, to the fourth quarter, and then who knows what can happen. So,
yeah.
But if you get blown out right out of the gate and Georgia's up 3 or 4 scores, then that would be tough, man.
Yeah, and let's kick it over to Kirby real quick, Shane. I think you're really going to love this. He was asked about being number 1 in the AP poll, and I'll just say it must be nice being the Georgia Bulldogs.
Kirby, I assume one of those you're talking like what they call the long handoff, the high percentage passes when you're talking about substituting for the runs. I wanted to ask about Spencer Rattler, though. And I'm sure you saw the film. Some of those deep balls he threw, I mean, how much of alert does your secondary need to be on for him and that South Carolina receiving core?
Well, they got a great receiving core. They got really good wideouts, fast wideouts. Guys we struggled with last year. They got quarterbacks got an elite ability to throw the deep ball. He can throw the ball over 70 yards, stretch the field, and he's an athlete. So when you start talking about, like we played against Bo. We know Bo can throw the ball. Bo can scramble. He's a guy that can move around. You got to be disciplined. You're going to have probably 5 to 6 snaps a game where you've got to use scramble rules. You got to plaster, take shots down the field. You got to win 50-50 balls. That doesn't change based on who we play. I mean, everybody we play, especially in the SEC, is going to be challenging us down the field, and you got to be able to win those one-on-one matchups. They've got really talented guys to do that with.
Kirby, the last time you guys played in South Carolina, it was a COVID year, so basically nobody on this team has played in that bonkers environment. Is it silly to say or think that Stetson's being a fan so far back and knowing that environment, is that an asset for a team that's going into like I said, a really crazy place to play.
The only asset to going into an environment like this is experience, and we've probably got 20 or 30 guys that have experience going into Auburn, Tennessee, places similar in terms of fan experience. So we've got some guys that can draw on experience. We've got some guys that'll lean on those guys because they'll be new. Anytime you go on the road for the first time, guys have to get comfortable with that. We had that a little bit in Atlanta in terms of not being on our own field, but it certainly wasn't the same kind of environment we're going into this time. And we'll have some guys that are young guys that have to lean on those older players.
You guys are ranked number 1 in the AP poll, and talking with Cedric, it was sort of met with a shrug. What does it say about your program when you've gotten to that point and it's not that big of a deal to be the number 1 team in the country?
It's never a big deal. It only matters at the end of the year. I don't know that we've spent many weeks outside the top 10, and it never mattered whether we were inside the top 10 or outside the top 10. It just is irrelevant. I mean, it's a lot more worried about how we execute a combo block than I am worried about what we're ranked. And hopefully the kids are the same way.
All right, Shay, I just think that's a classic quote, and not only that, but it's like, you see all these other programs just cracking the top 10. That is such an achievement. That's a reason to celebrate. And here's Kirby's like, well, I don't give a damn about being ranked number 1, and I get it because all their success. But I guess the point of me playing that is it must be nice to be a Bulldog. You know what?
Yeah. This is that whole Kirby narrative in the offseason that was last year's team. This is this year's team.
Yeah.
This year's team hasn't done anything. We have got to prove ourselves and our fans that we deserve that number 1 spot. But all that matters is at the end of the year who's holding that trophy up. So, I mean, this is right out of Nick Saban playbook, man.
Now, some bad news, Shane, as if the task is not even gargantuan as it is for the South Carolina Gamecocks. Injury updates. Of course, yesterday they announced linebacker Mo Kaba out for the season. Defensive end Jordan Strahan out for the season. And then here on Tuesday, Shane Beamer says David Spalding, Cam Smith, their outstanding corner, Corey Rucker, their transfer receiver, R.J. Roderick, and Alex Huntley, all questionable for the Georgia Bulldog. I mean, this is like a damn MASH unit coming off that Arkansas game, and goodness, this is the exact opposite of what maybe this is everybody and their mother's going to be picking against you, like you said, David versus Goliath.
Yeah,
that's the only silver lining I see here.
Yeah, and they are, man. They're going to be piling on, and maybe. Sometimes these kids, they read that stuff, they go in with that attitude that this is just another game. This isn't anything. And how many times have we've looked up and it's third quarter and it's a 1-score ball game and you're like, why ain't they getting going? Why is Bennett off? Why are these, I mean, you could in your mind play that scenario, but it's man, you need everybody. These injuries ain't going to help either, Right. So it's a tough week, brother. I just don't know what to say. I mean, I'm trying to be positive, but I wouldn't want to play. I don't want to play Georgia, Definitely if half my team's hurt. So
now, last thing, Shane Beamer, he had some classic comments in his Tuesday presser. So let's kick it over to him.
Coaches preach it constantly about focusing on yourself in a game week. You're taking on the number 1 team in the nation. It's a little bit harder to do, at least from outside noise as well. But also, you have the benefit of college football showing you that anybody can beat anybody last weekend. Are you using that? How, beneficial is it to be coming off of that week to kind of help encourage your guys and build that belief?
I'd say our guys have a lot of belief. I told our staff on Sunday, I don't want to hear one person talking about anybody can beat anybody on Sunday. I don't want to hear one person talking about shocking the world. I don't want to hear one person talking about we just got to beat them. We just got to be better than them one Saturday. We don't have to be better than them all 12. And then as soon as I walk out of my text, as soon as I walk out of the staff meeting, I got text messages on my phone from family members essentially telling me the same thing. So I'm like, Jesus, But there's great belief in our program. I don't have to rally them where to make them believe. They believe. They have confidence. They should. We're a really good SEC football team, and we got really good SEC football players. That a lot of players on this team that Georgia wanted on their team. And there's players on Georgia's team that we wanted on this team as well. So to answer your question, we have belief every single week. I don't have to sit in here and convince these guys that we can win the football game. We got a bunch of competitive dudes on this football team that can't wait to go compete on Saturday.
Shane, I just wanted to start with, did you live in the same neighborhood as Kirby when you were there? Right? Just keeping a theme of the last couple of weeks.
Nah, Kirby was making more money than me, so he was living in Athens. We were all out in the suburbs, me and out in Watkinsville, me and Sam. But y'all should do a story on the neighborhood that we all lived in, because I would say that pretty much every assistant coach that's probably ever coached at Georgia has lived in that one neighborhood. So I lived in there with Jim Chaney, who was our offensive coordinator, Sam Pittman, Glenn Schumann, their defensive coordinator's in there right now. Tracy Rocker was living in there. Jeremy Pruitt was living across the street from me as they were transitioning. Mike Bobo lived in that neighborhood when he was over there. Brian Schottenheimer lived in that neighborhood when he was on the staff. I don't even know who's in there right now, but there's a bunch of them for sure. But no, Kirby was in the high end part of Athens as well. Rob Sale, the old offensive line coach at Georgia, lived in that neighborhood. Chris Wilson lived in the house that I lived in. Will Friend lived in the house that I eventually bought. So it's a heck of a story. Roanoke, Mike Griffith, y'all. That's the name of the neighborhood in Watkinsville, man. Welcome back.
Thanks. Glad to be back.
Yeah. You coming Saturday? You got a baby shower, bachelor party, anything else you're going to, my man?
I'll be there. I
love you, right?
I got one more wedding on the schedule for next year, so hopefully it can be a bye week or something. But it's not mine. But
and y'all know I love Ben. That was totally a joke, right? I don't need to be on SEC Network like another coach was in this league because he got into it with a reporter last week or something. That was totally a joke. So, all right, thank you.
All right, Shane. Well, at least he's got a sense of humor going into
Hell,
this
I
matchup.
just said it. You know, any given Saturday, you know. Oh my gosh, he's right. I'd be texting him. So, could you imagine living in that neighborhood though? Oh my God, that'd be fun. They all got golf carts riding around. I bet John Daly was down there. Oh, that would have been fun.
Well, buddy, I